Welcome everyone to episode 15 of Cooking with Glenn, and you read that title. Today we are making cheesesteak calzones, or we're going to attempt to, because one of the biggest issues I've had on this channel so far is dealing with dough, if you want to harper back to my pizza making episode. So today we're going to hope to conquer this dough. Now this is a different dough than I used before. If you guys saw in the pizza making video, this was actually my backup dough that I ended up freezing because I didn't feel like making another pizza. So we're going to try to use this to make the calzones. For anyone who's never made a calzone before, or who has no idea what a calzone is, it's basically like a turnover in that sense. And we're going to try to get this dough out of here as easy as possible. Now, I don't think I'm going to need all this dough, but we're going to want to get it all out just so we can roll it. Now, I did let this dough sit and wait until it hit room temperature. The recipe I looked at online to try to make a calzone said to pretty much cut this dough in half is how we're going to use it. I don't know what dough they used online, but we're going to try to do that. I did rub some flour on here as well to help it kind of stay tangible a little bit better. So I do have a knife ready, you guys. So let's cut this in half, and then we'll put the other half aside for now on my other cutting board, and you know, maybe use this for something in the future. Now this cutting board over here is clean. I have the paper towel on this one just for the sheer fact that I knew I was going to put flour on it. So let's bring back out the roller and let's hope we roll this really nice this time, because the biggest issue with when I was making the pizza was the dough ended up stretching too thin. Now, what made me want to make cheesesteak calzones? Well, I figured it was going to be a calzone of sorts because I wasn't going to reattempt to make the pizza at this juncture, right? So, you know, what else could I have used dough for that would have made a decent snack? Now, we're going to want to try to spin this a little bit, loosen it up. I don't want to loosen it too much because that, like I just mentioned, was the problem with the last video. We are going to also pre-cook the steak before putting it in here, just for, you know, health concern reasons. And as you guys know, I'm gonna get messy here. I'm gonna be using frozen sandwich steaks. Now, I would have loved to use a regular steak here, but this was also a very spur of the moment video. I haven't really been planning the Cooking with Glenn videos ahead of time. So they've been very much use what I have in the freezer. So today we have some Murray's all beef sandwich steaks. In terms of toppings, I have some frozen mushroom medley from Trader Joe's, some banana peppers, and we're going to be using some red onions. Now, traditionally with cheesesteaks, it's green and red pepper, not banana peppers, but I love my banana peppers, and I don't have green and red peppers readily available at the moment. And it's usually like white onions or Spanish onions or Vidalias, not typically red onions for cheesesteaks, but you guys know I love to put my own little twist on this. And that's what we're going to do today. Now, this dough is actually being very interesting to roll out because it's very tough. And I want to get it in a sense of making sure it is very much evenly distributed as we start topping things off. That sounded a little interesting, but all right. So this dough is probably going to be as good as it's going to get right now, and I am making this at 10:30 in the morning, basically. So who knows how well this is going to turn out through the day. But we might as well get this video done early for you guys in case we have to redo it, because today we are making a Philly Cheesesteak Calzone, or Philly style, I guess you could say, or Glenn style for that matter, because it's Cooking with Glenn, and nothing we're doing is very typical. Now I think I got the dough rolled out into a nice perspective. So we're gonna clean up a little bit here and we're gonna get to cooking the ingredients. So I will catch you guys momentarily for that nice little edit, and we will be in front of the stove as the oven preheats. Alright, so on to step 2. I've zoomed in as much as possible so you guys can see the cooking process. And we're going to be using a wooden spoon here to hopefully chop up the steak and mix up the ingredients, because all of my spatulas are currently in the dishwasher. Now I'm preparing this in this nice pink skillet that I found because also my frying pans are in the dishwasher as well. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put some of these sandwich steaks in here. Now, you could use any type of steak, as I mentioned, that you want. You know, real steak, shaved ribeye, steakums, Quaker made, whatever. We're going to use 2 portions, just because of the amount of dough we have. Now, I always recommend cooking the steak first, just, you know, because it's going to be the longest thing to cook, and you want to make sure it's mostly cooked. Now, we're going to do some other interesting things with how we're preparing this that you guys are going to see momentarily. Now, as this is starting to heat up, you just want to start moving it around, breaking it up, you know, and, you know, getting it all cooked. Now, the reason I didn't really pre-cut the onions that you are going to want kind of chopped up a little bit is because I feel like with mashing them around in here, we're going to be able to get a nice, you know, nice little chopped onion bit just on here. Now, we're also going to throw in the frozen mushrooms just to kind of add a little bit into here and let it heat up is what I was trying to get at. Now, it doesn't look like there's a lot of full-on steak, but with all these ingredients, I believe everything is going to mash up very, very well. Now, as this is starting to get cooked, we can start throwing the onions in. I don't know if I want to use all of these onions. We'll just use a little bit, not fully, and then we'll throw the banana peppers in as well, and allow everything to kind of get acquainted with itself. Now, I personally did grease up this pan with some extra virgin olive oil cooking spray, if anyone was wondering. You always want to make sure you grease up your pan so the ingredients don't stick as we're going. Now, as we're doing this, the oven is also preheating to 425. So that's what we're going to want to keep it at, just to cook when this is ready to be put in. Now this is really cooking relatively quick, which is good. And we don't really fully, in theory, have to cook it all the way, just because we're putting it in the oven afterwards as well. As you guys can see, this is all kind of relatively cooked up. And I think we're going to leave it right at this for now. Just let it simmer for a little bit, and we're going to go back to our dough. Alright guys, so back over here, I've moved my dough to a baking sheet, and what we're going to do first that I thought would be a good idea is we're going to take some of that Quattro Formaggio cheese, which is a blend of Parmesan, Asiago, Fontina, and mild provolone cheeses, and we're going to actually douse the bottom of this with it first, just so we get a nice blend. Now, I'm going to do something interesting also, because this, I feel like we're going to want a nice portion of cheese on here. So now, I'm going to go back. We're going to start grabbing the steak, the peppers, the mushrooms, and the onions. We're going to dump that right on here. This is going to help melt the cheese in theory. And we're going to spread it out also, because you don't want all the ingredients just kind of in one area. Now this is already a little greasy, so I am a little afraid to see how this is going to cook. I'm hoping it doesn't seep through. But what I wanted to do was put that cheese there first to kind of act as a padding. Now, I'm also going to take some Sargento aged white cheddar to kind of give it a little bit of a nice flavor. And we're going to just cut this up and just leave it here. Now, the trick here is now we want to fold the calzone into what's ultimately going to become the calzone. So I think we're going to want to do this in a way that the dough doesn't rip. And basically just fold it over nice and gentle and kind of crimp the edges so that they act as like a padding. Now that should hopefully be good. And then we're going to want to hopefully fold it over even more. Kind of like this. Now, this is hopefully how we're going to leave it. I'm trying to just fold it better so that it gains a nice shape. I've never been great at folding dough because it always likes to fight back with me. Now, I'm not going to say this is going to be a calzone that is going to be very good looking, but what we're also going to do is we're going to take some of that olive oil again. We're going to spray it on this side just so it cooks nice. Then, you know, we can just spread it out with the knife I still have over here. It's not going to spread very nice. It's very awkward. And then I want to maybe flip it over one more time. And then we're going to do the same thing with spreading it on the other side. And then we're going to cook this for a good 15 minutes. Now, the other thing I want to do to make sure this is going to cook on both sides is we're going to puncture little holes so that the air of the oven can kind of get through, the cheese can melt, and we hopefully get a nice look to it. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to put this in the oven, like I said, for 15 minutes, and then we're going to come check it out and see how well it cooked. Alright, so this bad boy is all cooked up. We're going to get it plated, and we're going to test it out a little bit and see how it came out. Alright, now that this is all plated up, you guys can see it looks fantastic. It's fully cooked all the way around. It's a little oily, but that's probably definitely from the olive oil I put up top. So I'm going to try to cut this. I've also put some ketchup dipping sauce here because I love my cheesesteaks with ketchup. And I want to try to get an area because definitely parts of this don't seem as beefed up in terms of ingredients. So we're going to try to just cut this through. And see if we can get a nice, like, look of it from the inside. And I think that was actually a nice, smooth cut. Huh. Look at this. It looks fantastic. But the question is, how does it taste? It definitely is cool because you see all the cheeses in there, the peppers, the onions. And it looks so melty and so good. The other side, I'll try to hold it up to the camera a little bit without dropping it. It definitely could have used a lot more filling for the amount of dough I used, but it's nicely cooked on both sides. It has that nice browning to it. I think I can say I finally conquered the dough, but let's dip it in the ketchup. This is going to be super hot, I know, but let's take some taste testing. Let's see how it came out. That's super delicious. It's super hot still, so we're going to use the ketchup a little bit to dry it down. But I'm so happy this came out nice. But with how hot this is, the flavor is really coming out. The dough actually, if you guys look, the way the dough cooked is it's really thin, so it has a nice little crunch to it, a nice little crispiness. The onions and the banana peppers are separated in there so properly, and the mushrooms too just add such a nice flavor. Now I understand mushrooms aren't for everyone. Not everyone loves mushrooms, but I do, so that's why they're in here. I am very proud of this. It's super cheesy, super good. The only downside, well, there's two downsides. One, for some reason, taking it out of the oven set off my fire alarm, which that's not uncommon with my oven. As clean as it is, it for some reason always sets off the fire alarm, probably because it senses grease from the oil. 2, I should have waited maybe a couple more minutes before biting into it, because, like I said, it's super hot. But overall, this calzone cooked nice. It tastes delicious. It's a little greasy, but that was to be expected. And for a nice little at-home treat that's easy to make, if you are, you know, semi-amprobo, if that's the word, with cooking, it's a 15-20 minute job, and you have a nice calzone that you can fill with anything you want. And that's the beautiful thing about it. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in to episode 15 of Cooking with Glenn. Like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my other videos, anything else I put out, and all these awesome Cooking with Glenn videos. Thank you everyone for tuning in. It's time to eat up, be happy, and enjoy this cheesesteak calzone. As it's cooling down, it's just getting better. Till next time, guys. Have a good one. I'll see you later. Bye.